Allies of Skin is one of those brands that gets a lot of social media hype and social media attention. And I do think they're consistently coming up with well-rounded products. I've just always questioned the price point because they're certainly way up there, essentially sitting in luxury territory. And I've always found that a little bit difficult to justify because to me, when you're in a luxury space, I'm looking for more originality in terms of like extracts and sourcing and farming and production and all that sort of stuff. Allies, from what I can tell, is pretty much bringing together a lot of existing or pre-existing ingredients, which is totally fine, but I just then struggle to see where they arrive at their price point. But this is very personal. It's not my place to sort of tell you what costs too much. That's just where I am with the brand and why I'm not like the biggest fanboy ever. I think all of their products should essentially be half of what they charge. But anyway, this is just a rant for another video, and it seems like all brands are heading into this extortionate territory, so But all of that said, this new serum popped up on Mecca Beauty here in Australia as like a pre-sale, and Allies had not even announced it yet, so I ended up trying this before anyone outside of Australia I think even knew that it was coming out. So I wanted to create a dedicated video because I think they've designed this really nicely, and it is actually at a price point that I think is much more reasonable than some of their other products. So this serum is called the Beta-Glucan and Resveratrol Advanced Hydrating Serum, and it comes in this really nice packaging. One of the things I do like about Allies is that there's some interesting metallics going on, so it makes the product stand out. And the serum is designed to deliver deep, sustained hydration. I paid around 150 Australian dollars, which is definitely on the more affordable side for Allies serums. And it caught my attention because it does have a super solid ingredient list to tackle dryness and dehydration. The call-out ingredients are an 8.75% beta-glucan and ceramide complex. Next is a 5.5% resveratrol and polysaccharide complex. And finally, a 1.5% carnosine complex. As is common with most Allies of Skin products, the ingredients list is super packed, and this has a really nice blend of antioxidants, skin soothers, and hydrators. This sort of combination is very much what I look for because my skincare concerns are around redness and dehydration. Allies of Skin also has some consumer testing to share, which I'll throw up on screen just if you're curious with their testing results. And unlike many general hydrating serums, the texture of this is actually much more milky and creamy. It's a touch more nourishing without feeling heavy, so although you could definitely use it morning and night, I do prefer it in the evening because of this milkier texture. The instructions for use are pretty straightforward. It is just a classic serum format, so you would just use it in your serum step after cleansing toning, for example. Because the texture is a little bit on the richer side, I tend to prefer using these after watery serums. So if you're the kind of person that layers, I would still use a more watery product first and then leave this as the second or final serum in your routine. As I said earlier, I do personally tend to prefer using it at night because it does give the skin a little bit more of a dewy appearance. It's certainly not too rich or too oily or anything, but during the day I gravitate towards more weightless textures. But if you don't mind a more emollient feeling product, or your skin just craves sort of more oil, then for sure it's totally fine to use in the daytime too. Allies of Skin also suggests shaking the product before use, so I guess maybe it's prone to a little bit of separation in the bottle. I also recommend combining it with a mist, but I'm sure that any general watery toner under it would work fine, and it probably just further enhances the hydrating properties or how hydrating the serum ends up feeling on the skin. Now, in terms of who I think this is for, it is one of the more universal serums that's come out recently and one of the more universal products that Allies makes. Because the texture isn't like gelled or watery, it is more of like a noticeable serum step. So if you're the kind of person that likes a barely there skin feel, then this probably wouldn't be up your alley. But I think really anybody that's suffering from dehydration or dryness, whether your skin is oily or truly dry, could benefit from this serum. Typically, dehydration is affecting water content in the skin, and this is an issue that affects all skin types. And if your skin is chronically dehydrated, then that can absolutely lead to more barrier impairment. So having a serum like this support the water content in your skin can do a lot to just help all other skincare concerns. There are some lucky people out there that don't struggle with dehydration, so those of you might not need a dedicated serum for hydration. That probably already means that you have resilient and well-functioning skin. So yeah, there is going to be a subset of people that just probably won't notice very much happening because this is very much focused on transepidermal water loss. But I guess the fact that it is blended with a lot of antioxidants means that it's still functional if you were using it as like a sunscreen booster. But beyond the focus of dehydration though, this serum does have the added like emollients and oils. So it's not just targeting dehydration, but it can actually help properly with dryness. And dryness, as you probably know, is a little bit different to dehydration because that's focusing more so on the oil content in the skin. So the Ally serum is really targeting both factors. On the dryness side, it's not incredibly rich, so I consider it more of like a booster. But because a lot of hydrating serums in the market are so watery and there's really no lipid content in there, people who have dry skin will probably really appreciate the fact that this has a nourishing kick to it. As someone that struggles more with dehydration and not specifically dryness, I wouldn't say the additional properties or the emollients this has is something that's like super significant to my own routine. But I do find that it's very good at adding and supporting moisture to the skin. Generally, when I'm looking to add a burst of hydration, I do tend to personally prefer more watery serums and that kind of splashy hydrating effect. So for me, this serum ends up being a little bit more situational, and it has worked out better in the evening when I do tend to like a richer texture. And anything that I can do to support retinoid use, because as much as my skin has acclimated reasonably well, if I'm not careful, my skin will freak out from tretinoin. So adding that extra nourishment is great. But for those of you that are chronically dry, like morning and night, and you just feel like your skin can never get enough nourishment, then this is exactly the type of product that would probably work really well for you. Now, in terms of the ingredients, so I already discussed some of the call outs. Beta-glucan is a great ingredient to see as it's a true skin soother, and it has a reputation for being an anti-irritation ingredient. But the resveratrol and polysaccharide complex is interesting because resveratrol is one of the most well-known antioxidants. They're specifically using a ferment extract in this, which I think might mean it's a little bit more stable for antioxidant support. And polysaccharides overall are known as great skin hydrators and are often compared to hyaluronic acid, for example. The 1.5 carnosine complex is a little bit more unclear. Whenever you see the word complex, it means it's one ingredient combined with other things. I haven't seen them specify exactly what forms part of this carnosine complex, but carnosine itself is known to be a super effective antioxidant and may also help protect collagen from glycation. Beyond the call-out ingredients though, this serum is stacked with a bunch of other things. Now, normally I'm not a big fan of like name dropping ingredients for the sake of it, because I think we are in a period where brands know that consumers read the INCI list. So there's a lot of storytelling ingredients being included, or ingredients at really non-functional levels, just because brands automatically benefit from people reading the INCI without needing to use these ingredients in a functional way. So I'm not sure if Allies has added these other things for decoration or if they're using them in functional levels, but I will mention them just so you're aware. But in terms of purchasing a serum, it's usually better to focus on what the brands are calling out, because then they need to have substantiation for that, rather than looking at the INCI and then choosing to decipher what they've included in there without knowing that it's actually used properly, if that makes sense. But yeah, just so you're aware, some of the supporting ingredients include centella and its associated extracts. There's tea and prickly pear extracts. There's honey and hyaluronic acid and panthenol, sodium PCA, superoxide dismutase, EGCG, and even astaxanthin. So yeah, just a really well-rounded hydration antioxidant profile across the board. There are also other additional plant extracts like raspberry seed oil and many other emollients and skin conditioning ingredients. And these extras that we don't really consider functional, they're probably the things that are actually leading to the moisturizing benefit of the serum. But realistically, even if we were to ignore these extras, even just the call-out ingredients are enough to form a really robust serum. So overall, my final thoughts, and just to kind of go over what attracted me to the serum, is lately I've been interested in sugar alcohols and sugar humectants, as they often appear with brands that do a lot of like research into skin health. And in this case, beta-glucan has been included, which is one of the key ingredients of interest for me. It is a polysaccharide and it's known to have a higher molecular weight. And that's supposed to kind of form like a bit of a film on the skin, just helping with hydration. From what I understand, there are different sources of beta-glucan, and I haven't seen where Allies of Skin gets their ingredient from. But beta-glucan in itself can have various effect or various anti-irritation potential or different profile of efficacy depending on where it comes from. So I was just curious to see how much of a soothing effect this serum would have in particular. And so far it has worked out really well for me. So I've loved integrating it. And I think just the product design is quite thoughtful, because I personally would reach for beta glucan when I'm looking for a more comforting conditioning serum. So by having this type of milky texture, it sort of inherently amplifies the expectation, I guess, of what beta glucan can do as a soothing and repair molecule. So I really like it when brands take their star ingredient and then use the texture of the serum to bring those two things together, so that we can recognize what the function of the product is just by interacting with it. Plus, it's always just great to see any serum include antioxidants, because we're always out here fighting pollution, UV and all that stuff. So I guess the way that I would consider this product and compare it is that it's sort of in the lane of something like Lancome Genifique, and this product type is very much of interest to me. So I would just say that this is a more moisturizing version of that. So potentially if you're already a fan of Genifique, and you would use that in the morning because it is a little bit more of a lighter gel texture, and then if you want something similar to that to use at night with a more richer feeling, then the beta glucan with Genifique would make like a perfect skin hydration, skin repair serum combination. Or if you just happen to want something richer than Genifique, then this new beta glucan serum from Allies fits the bill perfectly. I hope I've covered all the key headlines of the serum. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.